somebody sing the Price is Right?
I was, actually.
Thank you. Thank you. You were coming to the podium. Now, while Angela is joining us, Angela, anyone else that is speaking, you have 3 minutes. 3 minutes to speak. Angela, there is a timer in front of Angela on her left. And with the moment she starts speaking, I will hit the timer. Now, you may be asking yourself, why 3 minutes? How come? Because we want to be nice to other folks that want to have a chance to speak. Anybody remember the name Ed Everett? Anybody remember him? You should, because he gave a very famous speech that lasted minimum an hour and a half, if not 2 hours. Nobody remembers.
Yes.
But everybody remembers who spoke after him for, guess what? 3 minutes. Abraham Lincoln got up after him and gave the Gettysburg Address. It can be done in 3 minutes. None at all. None at all. All right. Hang on. Now, Angela, speak to the microphone, please. Get the test there.
Test. Oh, hello. Test.
Here we are. All right. You're ready to go.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. My name is Angela Tips. I live at 1323 Richland Place. I was born in Rutherford County, and I've lived 50 of my 60 years here. I teach in the MTSU School of Music, and I'm the director of music at St. Paul Episcopal Church. I had a Linebaugh Library card as a child, and nowadays my husband and I have books on our Kindles borrowed from the Libby app. As soon as my 2 now grown children could write their names, they had library cards. The Rutherford County Library system raised my kids. Story time, summer reading, checking out DVDs for the weekend. The library has always been an important part of my family's life. One of my 2 adult children is trans. From a very young age, my oldest child, Virginia, never wanted to wear dresses, wanted to play baseball with the boys, and dressed as Jimmy Carter instead of Rosalind Carter in the 5th grade President's Day project at Campbell School. What we mistook as being a tomboy was really a lifelong disconnect between the sex Virginia was assigned at birth and their gender identity. Neither of us had the vocabulary to describe what being gender nonconforming was back then. Perhaps a library book would have helped us navigate that passage of time. Accepting Virginia's gender identity as a trans person was a process for me. I was concerned about what my neighbors, friends, and relatives would think, but never about what my God would think. You see, my Christian faith tells me that we as humans are fearfully and wonderfully made, as the psalmist says, and that all people of every gender and age are created in the image of God. Further, as beloved creations of God, we all have an inherent right to respect and dignity. Reading a book cannot make anyone trans or keep anyone from becoming trans or gay, for that matter. My family was lucky enough to find our way through this unexpected and unfamiliar territory, and Virginia is thriving. But a book could offer a lifeline to young people who are struggling with their gender identity and don't have a strong support system. In September, a peer-reviewed study found that state-level anti-transgender laws have led to a 72% increase in suicide attempts. A wholesale ban of books on this topic could make vulnerable individuals even more vulnerable due to a lack of reliable information. A book might also help you or a child in your life better understand a friend, family member, or neighbor who is trans. We talk about parental rights a lot, but parental responsibility is also important. Please allow all parents to decide what books their kids read. As you discuss this issue later, I ask you to think of all of God's children, our siblings in Christ.
Thank you, Angela. Y'all, she did it in less than 3 minutes.
Yes, I did.
All right, next up, please, Jessica Robertson. Jessica, whenever you start speaking, can you see the clock there?
Yep.
All right.
I haven't done this in 30 years. My name is Jessica Robertson. I live on Roanoke Drive in Murfreesboro, and I'm an RCL as card holder from tonight's agenda, item number 9, other business, and I quote, remove materials that promote, encourages, advocates, or normalizes transgenderism or gender confusion in minors, end quote. I'm going to note here that the word transgenderism is considered derogatory, but you may already know that, and that's why you chose it. Now, I'm going to define the word bigotry as found in the Oxford Languages website. Obstinate or unreasonable attachment to a belief, opinion, or faction, in particular prejudice against a person or people on the basis of their membership of a particular group. Or in simpler terms, from dictionary.com, stubborn and complete intolerance of any creed, belief, or opinion that differs from one's own. As a mother of a transgender child, the attempted erasure of my child in a public setting such as the library by members of this board is deplorable. I am outraged by the audacity and the belief that this action item is acceptable in any way. If my child had been exposed to a book, such as the one that will be voted on this evening, it might have helped them find the words to explain the source of their extreme unhappiness and name their dysphoria long before I had to hear them confess. It would be so easy to just drive my car into a ditch and be done. So here we are at a fork in the road. Don't pretend this action item is about anything other than hate and the attempted erasure of actual human beings. Humans have followed a path like this before. What's next? Will my child be forced to wear a pink triangle so that you know who to persecute? Tonight, you can choose to keep books in the library that could save lives and help your trans neighbors, or you can choose cruelty, hatred, and bigotry.
Angela, I hate to tell you, she beat your time.
Still under 3.
Still on both of them, yes, thank you. All right, our third guest speaker, Katie Turner. Katie, are you here tonight? Should say tonight, there's still daylight. If you look out the window. All right, can you see the clock there on your left hand? All right, whenever you're ready.
First of all, thank you for allowing me to speak to you tonight. My name is Katie Turner. I'm a member of the community. I live at 616 Eagleview Drive. I've been a patron of the library since its former location was just down the street in the other direction at Center for the Arts. I took my kids to the Smyrna branch, and now I patronize the Eagle branches as well because it's literally just down the road. I am here to ask that the board follow its current reconsideration policy of reviewing books based on the title rather than the entire group of books based on their subject matter. I'm around kids all the time, literally all the time. I work with children and teenagers in my primary job, I work with children in my secondary job, and I volunteer my time with children as well. The book reconsideration policy up for debate on tonight's agenda will harm people I know. And even if I didn't know these children and teens personally, I would still feel the need to speak up for them. Children and teens look to the library for information, for recreation, and as a safe place in which to be themselves. I know everyone sees the world through their own perspectives, but I think we can all agree that one of the primary messages we send our kids is the American ideal of individualism, that every person has value, every person has goals, strengths, and interests. We tell our kids, you are special, you are unique. There is no one like you in this whole world. Never has been, never will be again. It's Barbie's motto, you can be anything. It's on my kid's Hello Kitty sock that I picked up off the living room floor last night. It said, I can be anything. But I found in the middle, we are, every one of us, our own unique person. Look around the library and you'll find a world of books of every kind. They are each and every one of them special and unique. They each have their own strengths. They each have their own target goal audience. Our current library policy considers each challenge title individually, and I think this should be maintained. If we were able to remove entire swaths of the collection based on a topic some members of the community disagree with, rather than each book's own content, what might come next? I urge the board not to remove materials about transgender topics and instead continue their policy of reconsidering each title separately. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. All right, next is Janine Castro. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Y'all, forgive me, I can't believe I forgot to mention this. And it's, I've mentioned this to our board members. Let me make sure. Has everybody got their phone on mute? See? I didn't myself. So, if y'all wouldn't mind just kind of share respect for one another here, just silence your cell phones, please. Welcome, Janine. Can you see the clock there in front of you? Right down the left. All right, whenever you're ready, you may begin.
Good evening, everyone. I'm thankful for being in Rutherford County, this great county, and also able to speak in defense of our children. First of all, I want to make it clear that I have nothing but true love for every human being because we are all created in the image of our Creator God. With that said, I am completely against all kinds of depraved actions that adults try to bring into our community and trying to own our children. I am advocating for the removal of all material that promotes or normalizes transgenderism, gender confusion in minors, and speaking against the reconsideration of the book, Me and My Dysphoria Monster, which I have right here, I read it. The following definition is from the WebMD. What is mental abuse? Mental abuse is meant to undermine your self-esteem and make you feel worse about yourself. Is also a form of manipulation and control. The effects of mental abuse are just as detrimental as the effects of physical abuse. What sexual grooming is the action or behavior used to establish an emotional connection with a vulnerable person, generally a minor. So the book talks about, looks nice at first, but it talks about a monster, a dysphoria monster that grows as, this is a boy that was born a boy, but as he's being called a boy, the monster is bullying the kid. And also includes sports, so the teacher calls him to play sports in a boys' team, and the monster got out of hand, takes the whole room, keeps following him everywhere. So finally, an adult convinced him that he had the same problem, and it wasn't until it was called by the opposite of what every cell in the body of the person says, and every cell says whether you're a man or a woman, that was able to fix the problem, which is propaganda, and it's harmful to the mental of our children. So we have a Tennessee law. It says Tennessee Code Title 39 from 2024. It prohibits the sale, loan, or exhibition of material depicting nudity, sexual activity, or other harmful content to minors, with a violation being a Class A misdemeanor. So I'm asking, it talks about more in detail, but I don't have time. I advise those library employees voting for depraved things to resign. I also request the library board members to abide by the Tennessee law and to reprimand and fire the library employees for acting opposite to what the Tennessee law mandates. In morals, want to encourage and advocate minors when in reality kids need guidance and truth. Parents and teachers need to help their children instead of feeling confusion, which leads to mental harm and confusion.
said that the human person is connected to their body. Our body plays a role in defining who we are. However, there is an alternative view known as Gnosticism, which poses that our body has no real connection to our identity. According to this perspective, the body may even be seen as evil, while our true selves exist independently from our physical form. I see parallels between Gnosticism and transgender ideology, which suggests that a person can look like a man, possess male genetics, and yet, if they feel deep down that they are really and truly a woman, then they are indeed a woman. I believe this notion is misleading and can lead to harmful social effects. An article on this subject highlights serious consequences about addressing the personal cost involved. The University of Texas sought to investigate the mental health impacts of transgender individuals who underwent gender affirming surgery, and they found that those who have the surgery expect significant higher rates of depression, anxiety, suicide, and substance abuse. Additionally, we must consider the financial impacts. The cost of surgery ranges between $6,000 to $63,000, depending on insurance. And with the emerging information indicated from such surgeries, this situation might change. Notably, several European countries, including UK, Sweden, Norway, and Finland, have adopted a more cautious approach to gender-affirming care. The shift underscores the importance in protecting our children from being mindful of the information they receive. After reading this book, what questions do you think the child might have, considering the child's perspective, especially since the monster never truly disappears? The book raises more questions than answers, and to persuade young children to question the book's theme, even if the story is beyond what they can comprehend in their young age. Thank you.
I don't know if y'all know this or not, but it's been said that the number one fear for people is death. And what comes in second? Speaking in public. And we heard 5 people do a very good job. I appreciate y'all's participation tonight, and each of you should be proud of how you did it. So again, thank y'all. Now, chapter 8. Chapter 8 is part 2 of public comments. I have 5 people, and let's see. Let's start off with Michelle Johnson. Is she here? Michelle, if so, come on down. Michelle, if you don't mind, just speak to the mic. Make sure it does work, please.
Testing.
All right. And whenever you're ready, just climb there on your way.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for having me here tonight on the board, and also fellow community members. I had written something that I thought was eloquent, but I have since sidelined that on my way here. I felt moved to switch that up, and I appreciate wherever Katie went. I don't know where she went, but I appreciate what she said about people being uniquely and made, and I just want to affirm that I feel that one of the things that's missing from the whole book scenario is love, and I just felt compelled that love was what was needed to be shared here tonight. And coming from a person that was a child that was exposed to all kinds of things that children shouldn't be exposed to. So I have a voice of a child, and I can tell you that those things implored me to do things to myself and to my body that I wish I never did. And subsequently had to have surgery to remove things that I put in my body because I didn't look like the magazines or the videos or the things that I got exposed to as a child, or even in books that my parents had that, they didn't see the need to protect me from. And subsequently, I have nerve damage, and that was that I enhanced myself on the front. I decided that that was no longer good, my health was a factor. And so what I want to share tonight, that if we cause children to go down this road, they can make decisions that they will regret for the rest of their lives. And when we expose them to things that they don't have a level to understand, and it's really sexualizing them. And coming from a person that has had that happen, it's very detrimental. So I want to share this because children, they don't have the capacity for this. And if we say we love them, if we say that you are loved and we love you, that we should want to tell that person the truth. Okay, love is truth. And if we segue into perpetuating something that isn't true, then we are in fact doing the opposite. Then if I was to tell you I agree, then I tell you that I hate you. And that's not how I feel. We shouldn't want that to be what goes forward. We deliver the opposite when we do not deliver the truth. We're in fact giving somebody hate. If we believe something and we don't tell the truth, then we're hating somebody. And so I stand to say—
Are you saying that I hate my child, my trans child?
No. So,
Hold up.
No.
Well, that's what it sounds like.
What I want, because we love our children so much sometimes.
Thank you. Keep it on the sky! With us tonight. Heather, are you here? Is Heather here? Yes. Okay, good. All right, now, y'all, if y'all don't mind, everybody was very good about the first 5. Let's please, if you don't mind, understand, you're passionate about it, Black, just be respectful of each of the 5 speakers. Oh, I guess so. Okay. So, take the podium there. Test the mic for me, please.
Test.
And you can see the clock there to your left.
Yes.
All right.
Oh, this one. I was like,
Yes.
this one. This one work too?
No, it does
Okay.
not.
Gotcha. All right. Hello and happy St. Patrick's Day. My name is Heather Cook and I'm a resident of Rutherford County. Like St. Patrick, I'm here to shine a light into the darkness, to stand for the truth in opposition to the deception of transgender ideology and gender confusion, which ultimately leads to gender dysphoria and the mutilation of our children. Deception is to cause someone to accept something as true or valid that is actually false and invalid. Science has proven that every cell in our bodies identifies us as male or female. Just as God created us, no hormone or surgery can change that. To lead children to believe anything contrary to that is an abomination for which we will be held accountable. Evil is being accepted as good, and good is being called evil. Truth seems to be nowhere to be found, and whoever shuns evil becomes a prey. The only way to overcome deception is with the truth. And whether we choose to believe it or not, this is the truth. The only eternal, unchanging truth that will overcome the lies being told to our children and to us. The answer to everything is found in this book. The brief time between our birth and death is an open book test, and all of the answers are in this book. We must teach our children that the God of the universe created them. He formed them in their mother's wombs with plans and a purpose for their lives, just as He created them to be. He loves them just as they are, and He does not make mistakes. This is the instruction manual that He's given us to live this life as He intended us to live. We have to stop lying to our children. We have to overcome evil with good. We have to teach them the truth so they will recognize the lie. I am not speaking out of judgment or condemnation. I'm speaking out of love and compassion. It breaks my heart to see so many people being deceived and teaching that deception to their children. We have to teach them the truth so they'll be able to recognize and overcome the lie. Thank you, and God bless you.
Our fourth speaker, Brittany Pittman. Hi, Brittany, can you see the clock there to your left, the big one right there? Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Brittany Pittman. I am a mother of three. I live here in Murfreesboro. I homeschool my oldest child. I'm gonna homeschool my soon-to-be 4-year-old. I rely heavily on the library. I have a million books in my house, but there is not enough dragon books in the world that I could put in my house for my 12-year-old. I rely heavily on the library. All that being said, I'm going to take a different approach to this issue than some people have said. I can hear how much everyone loves their children, and everyone who loves their children have come up with some different conclusions, and that leads into my thought. My oldest son, I adopted him out of foster care, and so we sometimes have to do things a little bit different than other families do, and that's okay. We adapt, we do it. But the movie Trolls 3 came out, and I don't know if you guys have seen it or not. It's not a controversial movie. People love it. It's cute. There's dancing trolls. They're singing. We could not go see it because the plot of that movie was that this troll had been separated from his siblings. And the whole movie was about them having to band back together, and they were a boy band. They had to get the band back together to save their other troll. But I knew if my son had seen the sweet little dancing trolls trying to get together with their siblings, he would be devastated. Devastated. It was not right for my son. It was wonderful for so many other people's children. My son's now 12 and he has seen it. He loves it. It's a cute movie, okay? But what I'm saying is, we do not need, and I understand we're not a government agency, we're a library. I'm not trying to be dramatic, but we don't need the library to make decisions for our other parents. More books is always better. More opportunities to read this story, that story, any story is better. We don't need to make decisions for each other. I've heard so many of you saying, we need to teach our kid. And I say, we need to teach our kid, period. I need to teach my kid. You need to teach your kid. She needs to teach her kid. We need to teach our kids. There's parental responsibility, and it ends there. Thank you.
Next up, Kelly Northcutt. Kelly. Come on down. Help yourself to the podium there. And you see the clock there to your left?
I do, sir.
All right, whenever you get started, whenever you're ready.
All right, thank you so much. Hi, I'm Kelly Northcutt. I live here in Murfreesboro. I've lived here for over 20 years. I raised my 3 children here and utilized the library quite a bit. All the summer programs, summer reading programs, everything, the puppet shows. It's a wonderful asset to Rutherford County. And I understand that some people don't believe that trans or non-binary is a real thing, and that's okay. I'm sure you understand there are people in our community who do believe it is a real thing. It is real life for them and their children, as in my case. Our library has a mission to serve all of the citizens of Rutherford County. All of them. Not just the citizens that don't believe that it's true, but those who do and those who don't. These would seem to be at odds, but they really aren't. If the book under consideration, any book, does not fit your beliefs, leave it on the shelf for those who would like it, for those who may need it, for those children who may need it to feel that they are not wrong, that they are not unacceptable. We are a welcoming community, and we have the capacity to contain the multitudes. We have the capacity to hold more than one thought, even within your lifetime. I'm sure you've changed your minds about some things that you held dear earlier in your life. We need to entertain more than one possible thought and leave that option up to individuals. There are books that I will never check out. They just aren't for me. There are biographies of people I don't like. I'll never read those. There are books on trigonometry. I'm not going home with that. But some of them directly counter my beliefs, but they should remain as they are for someone. And I strongly believe everyone should have the same right I exercise to make their own choice for them and their own children. No book on a shelf has ever harmed anyone. So my plea to you is, leave it on the shelf. If it is not for you, leave it on the shelf. You can control what your children take out. You can talk to them and express your beliefs to them. That is not just our right, it's our responsibility. But allow me to do the same for my children. If you're uncomfortable with discussing the topic, you can redirect your child, but leave it on the shelf.
Speaker, Chris Warren. Chris Warren. Welcome to the podium, sir.
I'm glad I was here. I was never notified that I was taken off the wait list, so I have nothing prepared to tell you. But I will share a little bit about myself. I am a pastor here in Rutherford County. I pastor a church just down the street. I have many people in my congregation who have many different identities, some that some of the people in this room would probably not agree with, and I'm sorry for that, but I love them. They're good people, they're important people, they're made in God's image, and they deserve to be seen as that. I believe it's really important to be open and affirming with people because everybody's coming from somewhere. I don't know any of you very well. I don't know what your backstory is. I'm really sorry for those of you who have had bad things happen to you in the past, and that's changed the way that you think about things. I'm concerned about something, though, that I continue to hear. I've been to the school board meetings a couple of times as well. And something that I continue to hear is an emphasis on the use of the Bible. I'm a pastor. I've studied the Bible. I believe in the Bible. I love the Bible. It's a great work. It's got a lot of sex in it. It's got a lot of stuff that you guys wouldn't want your children to be able to check out from the library. If that's a problem, if sex is a problem, then the Bible's not the book for you. But the Bible is the book for you, right? So there are other things in the Bible that are important. And there are things in these books that people are wanting to take off the shelves that are also important. They are life-giving. The statistics I don't have because again I didn't know I was speaking. The statistics for suicide attempts for children who are LGBTQ+, off the charts. It doesn't.
Recently debunked. Be quiet.
I don't know what story. I don't know what she's referring to, but every article that I've ever read has shown that kids who are LGBTQ are much more likely to attempt suicide because the society tells them that they're wrong, that they're not good enough, that they don't fit in, that they're not as good as people who are heterosexual. That's just not fair. These are children, these are people that we should be loving, not people we should be judging. And I think that if we just give people an opportunity to have the materials that will help them to feel good about themselves, there's no harm in that. You might think there's harm in that, but I work with kids at my church all the time who are very hurt by people who would say things like that. And I'm sorry that you feel the way you do, but I'm going to continue to love all of my kids at my church, whether they're heterosexual, homosexual, LGBTQIA, whatever, because they're God's children.
Amen.
Abraham Lincoln with the front of everybody. Y'all kept it under 3 minutes, all 10 of them. So, with that, that wraps up our public comments. Now we move into chapter 9, other business. Board members, if it's okay, I have a request to flip-flop our two bullet points. Is that okay with the board?
What's the rationale for that?
Just to go the bottom first.
I think the discussion for the first one will come into play on the second.
Okay. Everybody agree with this? Everybody want to go with number 2 or number 1?
I personally think that digging into some specifics of the book would make the more general conversation go quicker and we get home to dinner faster.
What do y'all think?
But
I think we should go over the book first.
I second that.
Is that okay? Okay. We have a request for consideration. Do we have a book with us tonight? Thank you. This request was submitted January 28th by a Murfreesboro resident named Alice. And she wrote, the question on the form, we'll be back up. The book is titled, Me and My Dysphoria Monster. Author, Laura Kate Dale. And our resident got the book, checked it out, and the question on the form, do you represent yourself or an organization? She represents herself, and she wrote, showed the book to many, many people. They all agree that it would cause harm to their children. To what in the material do you object? Please be specific. Attach additional pages if needed. And she wrote, false info. Did you read, view, or listen to the entire work? Yes. For what age group would you recommend this material? None. Are you aware of any review or critiques of this work? Yes or no? She checked both. Recommended action to be taken? Withdraw. And so with that, if anybody wants to look at the book, excuse me, Andy has it. The recommendation from staff remain in the collection in its current location. We got the book September 2022, and since that time, it has been checked out 8 times. The staff's recommendation is the request for consideration states this book includes false information. Gender dysphoria refers to psychological distress that results from an incongruence between one's sex, assigned at birth, and one's gender identity, and is included in the Diagnostic and Statistic Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition, text provision, DSM 5-TR. And that's coming from staff. So with that, I'll open it up, ladies and gentlemen. Yes?
I would like to see this book withdrawn.
Okay.
And my reasoning is, I was a school teacher for 30 years. I've been a Bible school teacher for 45 years. I was disappointed in this book for a number of reasons. It's beautiful on the outside, beautiful pictures. But when I looked at it and read the book, and I read it from cover to cover and everything that was in it, and I do that with all of the books, and I take this, every book selection that we have very seriously. I looked at it, I think, one, the book is too mature material for children. When I came on this board, my thing was, I was here for children, and that was my whole thing. My field was early childhood education, and that's what I have my degree in, and also education, etc. I believe that we must protect our children. When I brought my own children to the library, I brought them in and I let them pick books off the shelf and they got to read them. You can't do that now. My daughter brings her children and she gets books off the library shelves. And she has to look at everything before she can even let her children look at the books. Because it has to be reviewed and things that there's no trust in our library now. It's because it has to be you have to look and see it's okay material for your young child. So I think that we're causing confusion in children. I did not have any children in my program or in all the 30 years that I taught that had difficulty. I'm not saying that there's not. I believe that there are children that have some confusion, but I also think that we're putting things in children's heads at times. It's not, if one of my grandsons came to me and said, I want to be an astronaut, do I sign him up that day and put him in NASA? No, I don't do that. I'm going to help them with whatever it might be. But I just don't think, and another thing, I had some difficult problems in my own. I was sexually assaulted as a college student, and I had to find my own way. I think that we have to help people wherever they are in their life. But I think that the problem is when we give people books that they are not ready for, then we have a problem in confusing them, we're planting the seed, and we're not helping where we need to be for young children, and we've got to protect them, and this book does not do this.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The book would be found in what part of I can't think of what I'm wrong.
It's the picture book.
Okay, but
6 to 10.
am I right? It's in the.
It's all ages.
Okay.
The picture books can vary briefly.
I was getting mixed up because of doing research for myself. I think the book was by the publisher was saying it's 60. I just failed to mention that. Amy, yes, ma'am, Jim.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it's time to make my statement. I asked for that, and I'm going to try to be fast, okay? As a board member of our library system, I believe that the book Me and My Body Dysmorphia should be removed from our collection, particularly because it is not appropriate for children ages 6 to 10. At this stage of development, children are still vulnerable and lack the maturity to process complex topics like body dysmorphia without proper guidance. They require age-appropriate, scientifically accurate education about their bodies, focusing on the biological truth of male and female anatomy. This is not a matter of personal beliefs, or religious convictions. It is about common sense and responsibility we have as adults to guide children in their formative years. Just as we would not allow a child to smoke, drive a car, or engage in other activities that could harm them, we must also set boundaries on the information we are exposed to them. Providing materials that are not developmentally suitable can confuse and mislead them during a critical period of growth. Furthermore, the American College of Pediatricians has raised concerns about the potential harm of transgender interventions on children. I have the article right there. They emphasize that children need guidance and support to navigate their developmental time, rather than exposure to concepts that may not align with their cognitive and emotional readiness. While the book may have value for some people and older audience, it is not appropriate for younger children who are still forming their understanding of themselves and the world around them. Finally, as stewards of taxpayer dollars, we must ensure that our library resources are allocated to the materials that are both educational, suitable, and intended audience. It is our duty to prioritize the well-being and developmental time of the children in our community by providing them with content that is safe, constructive, and aligned with their developmental needs. Some may say you are against intellectual freedom. While intellectual freedom is important, it does not mean exposing young children to material that is not age-appropriate. Protecting children from potentially confusing them in harmful content is not censorship. It is our responsibility. Libraries can maintain intellectual freedom by placing such books in other sections. We talked about that before. Parental and personal choice. You may say you are against parental and personal choice. While parents play a key role in guiding their children's reading, a public library should also consider its responsibility toward the community at large. Taxpayer-funded resources should prioritize materials that are broadly accepted as suitable for the developmental stages of young readers. Parents can still seek these specific books outside of the library, who's saying they cannot. Also, you might say you're not representing the matters of the community or matters of our society. Representing is indeed valuable, but the key concern here is the age group being targeted. Sensitive topics like body dysmorphia may be meaningful for older children and adults who can process them, but exposing young, impressible children prematurely may do more harm than good. Representing must align with developmental readiness. You may also say development of critical thinking. What does that do to that? While critical thinking is essential, children ages 6 to 10 are in a stage of development where they are still forming their foundational understanding of the world. Introducing overly complex or controversial topics at this stage can overwhelm them rather than empower them. Critical thinking can be cultivated with age-appropriate material tailored to their cognitive ability. And that can continue on and on. I yield my time. Thank you very much. I make a motion that this book be removed from the Linebaugh Library.
Everybody, please.
So, Chairman, I believe the motion was made, so that would be a second.
Okay, so, thanks so much. We have a motion and a second to remove the book, Me and My Dysphoria Monster, from the Linebaugh shelf. Any other further discussion on this motion?
Please.
Go right ahead.
Obviously, you all feel very passionate about this, many of you, and I appreciate that so much. I do think that it's very clear that you all don't think it's appropriate for this age group. I think there is a serious impact of us removing it completely in terms of serving our community, and honestly also in terms of possibly being sued. And I think we need to talk about that before we make a final decision. As far as serving our community, clearly we have community members here who do want the book, who do want books like this to be in our library. And Marcy, I feel completely for what you're saying as well, that you feel like a child just can't walk in. When all this started with the decency ordinance, some time ago, I had joked and said we need a puppies and kitties section of the library, where everything is just, you know, it's not controversial. We know we can go up and it's not going to offend anybody. But I would also submit to you that there are other books that also are something that a child can pick up and you're not ready for. I can remember bringing my children and they might pick a book up that's about the death of a grandparent, and I'm not ready to talk to my young children about death yet. Or a gravely ill child, or racism, or slavery, or the Trail of Tears. All these things are things that also exist in the picture book section. So this is only one other topic. I want to say that you are talking about people I care about very much. And again, I also care about your grandchildren's experience and your children's experience too. And again, I thank the speakers tonight for sharing what you've had to say. I know you care very deeply from whatever perspective you have. But our library is supposed to bring a community together. And if we cannot find a way to serve all our community, then we are not doing our job. What I would hope is that we can at least move the book up to the next level, or to some level, and so it is still available to people, at least to parents, to go and check it out if they are seeing things about their children and they want to be able to have some sort of resource, as some of our speakers said, that would help them.
I think this book, along with kind of other books that talk about transgenderism and promote gender confusion, these books contain misleading information and incorrect information, making them unsuitable for children. As a system, we have an obligation to ensure that educational material that we provide have accurate information, and that we can and should remove books that are misleading. So to the point of the legality of this action. The American Civil Liberties Union of Florida, Greater Miami Chapter, sued Miami-Dade County School Board. Now this is a school board, so it's not a direct connection, but we often, including school board versus PICO, we often use the school board decisions in books and libraries to look at how public libraries should also handle those things. So the Miami Library removed a book that was about Cuba because it was factually incorrect. And This notable case involved Miami-Dade School Board removing the book A Visit to Cuba in 2006. The removal was based on complaints that the book presented an overly favorable and factually incomplete portrayal of life in Cuba. The ACLU challenged the decision in court. It was first, and the U.S. Court of Appeals of the 11th Circuit ultimately upheld the school board's removal of the book. That was based on the fact that the book was not factually correct and therefore did not have educational value. The
So
school
how
board
is this,
argued
I'm sorry, how is this book not factually correct?
let me get to that, let me pull it up. So on page 16, the book says, quote, sometimes the doctor isn't right. Sometimes people are told that they're a boy, when actually that person knows that they are a girl. Boys are boys and girls are girls. There are two sexes.
You're misleading
There
now.
are two sexes, male and female.
Guys, please. Okay, everybody was respectful when the other 10 people spoke. Let these 8 people speak, okay? That's all I'm asking. We appreciate you being here, but let us discuss this. And we can't do it with catcalling, okay? Just simple as that. Cody, please finish. Where were you?
There are two sexes, male and female. These are determined by reproductive anatomy and the presence of either XX, female, or XY, male, sex chromosomes. Now, there are rare medical conditions where individuals may have atypical chromosomal representation or hormonal patterns. However, these do not constitute separate sexes, but rather variations within the male-female biological framework. From a strictly biological and reproductive perspective, sex is binary, as it is based on the role of an organism that the organism plays in reproduction, either producing large gametes or small gametes. So one may ask, well, there are books in the children's section that may not be totally factually correct. For example, Clifford. Many books in our children's section are not scientifically accurate. We have a giant red dog. We have mice that can talk. And we have a wardrobe that's the doorway to another realm. However, these books do not claim to reflect reality. They are not presenting themselves as factually correct. Although they may present a moral lesson, they are generally for entertainment and aren't making factual claims about biology or mental health. Dogs have 4 legs. Any dog that deviates from that description has something wrong with it, but it's still a dog. There is no educational value in encouraging children to participate in delusion or sexual perversion.
I would just like to do a point of clarification. So this book, Me and My Dysphoria Monster, gender dysphoria is real. And not everyone who is transgender has gender dysphoria. So if we're talking about something that is factual and making sure that it's real, whether you believe that someone can be transgender or not, gender dysphoria is a real psychological disorder distress that comes from an incongruence between one's sex and one's gender identity. That's a fact. That's from the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. It is a diagnosis. So, for this specific book, dysphoria is a diagnosis that is true.
Well, again, on page 16, and several times throughout the book, but on page 16, it says sometimes the doctor isn't right. Sometimes people are told they are a boy when actually the person knows they are a girl.
So Cody, I took that to be a description of the child expressing their dysphoria, of expressing their discomfort that something seems wrong. And nowhere in that book is there actually something said that, oh, this person is going to have a medical intervention, or they're going to do anything. But to me, it's a character expressing their discomfort.
On page 29, it says, a trans person might go to a doctor and get medication that puts their current puberty on hold. They may start hormone replacement therapy. They may eventually get surgery to alter aspects of their body. Any medication offered, such as hormone delay medication, is reversible. This is also, so you're incorrect. The book is advocating for modification. It's advocating for surgery or hormone treatment process, which, by the way, is illegal in the state of Tennessee. Do what? I'm sorry. Oh.
Yeah, so it does say may.
So, if the book said may, hey, transgender people may commit suicide, and present that as a viable option, that would be terrible. This TCA 668-33-101 says, quote, therefore, this is Tennessee law. Therefore, it is the purpose of this chapter to prohibit medical procedures from being administered to or performed on minors when the purpose of the medical procedure is to enable a minor to identify with or live as a purported identity inconsistent with the minor's sex, or treat purported discomfort or distress from a discordance between the minor's sex and asserted identity. This book is advocating something that is illegal in the state of Tennessee.
Now, we've had this kind of discussion before, though, that just because something's in a book does not mean that it is illegal, does not mean that we cannot have that book in our library.
So I would say that if there's any book that's advocating for a minor to commit a crime in Tennessee, we should remove it.
Ban the Bible.
People aren't a crime. What's wrong with you? And then in the back of the book, and I'm just picking up, because in my research of the book, there was an adult guide. And it is, they're not numbered. I don't know what page number this is. The guide aims to offer adults useful terminology which they may find helpful as a supplement to this book. Terms included may not be directly involved in the story, but offer a vocabulary for answering questions children might have about gender. And then under give me a second. Medical transition. I'm quoting directly from the book. Medical transition is all of the parts of a transition a doctor is involved in, which require waiting lists and assessments. As an adult, a trans person might go to a doctor to get medication that puts their current puberty on hold. They may start hormone replacement therapy to develop physical characteristics that align more with their gender, and then eventually get surgery to alter aspects of their body. Transition-related surgeries are never performed on children and typically require several years of doctor's visits before anything moves forward. Any medication offered in late teens, such as hormone-delaying medication, is reversible and can be halted if the teen changes their mind about how they feel. I'm just reading that straight out of there. Unfortunately, I don't know if it's.
And that's factually incorrect on me.
Resign right now. Okay. Got me. Does anybody else want to review the book? Anyone? Any other discussions? So we've got a motion and a second on the floor. Yes, Dan, you get the mic out.
I think based on my understanding of current First Amendment jurisprudence that is binding on us as a publicly funded entity, I don't think I can constitutionally ban a book of this sort. And it's not because I agree with it by any stretch, but I just don't, I can't. As an officer of the court, I cannot vote for something I know that I can't constitutionally do.
That's right. Board members, any other discussion on this motion? If there's no further discussion, I do need to take a voice vote. The reason being, the last time we voted on the book, we did our roll call vote, sorry. We did a voice vote. There was no mistaking if it passed or failed. But we were asked the question, who did what? And we literally couldn't answer the question, who voted and how. And so with that, if there's no further discussion, we'll go to a roll call vote on this. So, the motion to restate is the book, Linebaugh Library, is removed from Linebaugh Library. And I'm just, the one that says the names were printed. Danny Gross.
No.
Raleigh Holden.
Abstain, come on.
Sam Moses.
Yes.
Dina.
Yes.
Susan Quisenbeer.
Yes.
Corey Wells.
No.
Marcy Wood.
Yes.
Cody York.
Yes.
Okay. We have 5 yes to remove, 2 no.
What's your vote?
1 abstain. So the
Did you
motion-
vote, Phil? I didn't get,
No, I voted in tiebreaker.
I don't think that's.
I'm sorry, I may be wrong.
The yeses are Sam, Dina,
Dina, I missed Dina, sorry.
Susan, Marcy, and Cody. The noes were Ben, yourself, and Raleigh abstained. So it's 5-1. So the motion has passed. Be honest with you, I can't understand the words you're saying. It doesn't matter. I mean, just please, let us try to finish, okay?
We should shut it
Let us try
down.
to finish.
We should shut this down.
What? Okay. Our other discussion is
Bigotry.
remove material that promotes, encourages, advocates for, or normalizes transgenderism or gender confusion in minors. Who would like to lead us off in this discussion? Go right ahead.
Well, I asked for this to be put on the agenda, so I'll go.
Of course you did.
I'm making, so I move that staff be directed to remove material that promotes, encourages, advocates, and normalizes transgenderism or gender confusion in minors.
I second the motion.
My thought process for this is much of which I've already presented in the previous book. And so I believe we can remove legally, we have the right to remove books that are factually incorrect.
You're factually incorrect.
We also have an obligation to protect children.
You're not
So
protecting
there's the
anybody.
myth. There's the myth.
Start protecting the trans kids. Okay, guys, okay. Okay, hush.
This board deserves no respect now.
No way, Cody.
So there's the myth that encouraging and affirming gender confusion protects children and decreases the amount of mental health risk. And this is incorrect. In the study entitled Examining Gender-Specific Mental Health Risks After Gender-Affirming Surgery, a national database study published February 25th, 2025. And this was, it was conducted by the University of Texas, I believe. The conclusion is that gender-affirming surgery is associated with an increased risk of mental health issues. So we have an obligation to protect children. Our policy manual, PM 402, section 402 of our manual, talks about our collection. And it says the following guidelines are considered in the evaluation of library material in order to determine if and when removal is appropriate. And the second point on that list is misleading or dangerous information. So this is existing policy. Now, Board of Education versus PICO from 1982 is the standing, the standing Supreme Court case that is often cited. And it says that public libraries operate as limited public forums, meaning that they cannot remove books solely based on disagreement with the content. And it applies more to schools than to public libraries, but we just, that's been used in public libraries for decades. However, libraries can set content-neutral policies to restrict material that is obscene, illegal, or harmful to minors. Gender confusion and transgender ideology are harmful to children. Children's cognitive and emotional capacity evolve gradually with full understanding of complex topics such as gender identity and long-term consequences of gender transition typically develop in early adulthood. Introducing complex gender ideology to young ages may lead to confusion, anxiety, or uncertainty rather than clarity. Some studies indicate that gender dysphoria experienced in childhood does not necessarily persist into adulthood. Research from the American Psychiatric Association highlights that a significant percentage of children will experience gender dysphoria and eventually identify with the biological sex as they mature. Presenting gender transitioning as a normative solution for children might prematurely solidify temporary feelings into lasting decisions. The reality is, most people feel like they're in, or feel like they don't belong in their body when they go through puberty. This is a very natural experience that most people have. And we need to protect children from misleading and dangerous information that would have them act on a temporary feeling with long-lasting consequences. In the study, Development of Gender Non-Connectedness During Adolescence and Early Adulthood, it's stated that 11% of the participants reported gender non-connectedness. So 11% of the children studied experienced something that we basically consider non-connectedness with their gender, their birth sex. This continues to decrease with age, with only 4% still feeling that way when they were 18. This study tells us that we've got to be careful reinforcing temporary ideas as a child matures. In another study, a follow-up study of boys with gender identity disorder, this study showed that even social transitioning would help ferment gender confusion in children. And in children that didn't transition, the vast majority of them outgrew their confusion. Social transitioning appears to have had a massive effect, 4x, on preventing boys with gender dysphoria from getting better. Simply put, social transitioning hurts children. It is a dangerous practice and should not be encouraged. There is also the reality that often gender confusion is a social contagion. Emerging research indicates that rapid onset gender dysphoria can occur in clusters, particularly among adolescents influenced by peers and media exposure. Books and media that actively encourages transitioning may unintentionally exacerbate social contagion, increasing the number of youths pursuing medical intervention without comprehensive psychological evaluation. In conclusion, books that promote transgender ideology are harmful to children. There are lawsuits currently being filed all over the United States where children are suing their doctors for doing terrible, terrible harm to them. The state and federal government has determined that these are harmful practices. There's an executive order that was signed January 28, 2025 that says, accordingly, it is the policy of the United States that it will not fund, sponsor, promote, assist, or support the so-called transition of a child from one sex to another. And it will rigorously enforce all laws that prohibit or limit these destructive and life-altering procedures. I've already mentioned the TCA that makes it very clear the state of Tennessee doesn't support transitioning children. Matter of fact, I think this week is being debated additional legislation to that effect. The fact that some children in our community struggle with gender confusion means that we should be equipping them to successfully deal with the dangers of and root causes of that danger.
Let's do that.
Suicide is one of those dangers. We should also look at the stories of detransitioning people, the testimonies of these people. We, in a library, we would never keep books, I hope. We would never keep books that promote or encourage or normalize cutting, self-harm, anorexia, suicide. These are topics that we would protect children from, not expose them or encourage them. And like I said earlier, this is also illegal behavior.
OnlyFans or why transgender suicide.
So, by keeping these books in our collection, we are jeopardizing federal funding and possibly state funding. Quoting from a second executive order defending women from gender ideology extremism and restoring biological truth to the federal government, signed January 20th, 2025. Federal funds shall not be used to promote gender ideology. Each agency shall assess grant conditions and grantee preferences and ensure grant funds do not promote gender ideology. We are jeopardizing the federal funding of our funding bodies if we continue to have books that advocate gender ideology. So I would recommend that, so basically what I believe this motion would do is direct staff to bring any book to us that may violate this directive. Now what that means is we will consider these books one by one in order to fully review the books. I believe that will meet the same legal standard. We're basically following the same legal process that the state of Tennessee, the legislature, has established for the schools. The library staff's instructed to bring books to us that may violate the policy. We as a board then take the policy decision on us, and we make the determination on if it violates this motion. So that's my explanation of the motion.
Right. Yes, sir. Cody, this action item says to remove. It doesn't say to take them off and bring them back up here. The way I read this action item, you want these books taken off of our shelves. It doesn't say remove and bring back to the library on what this action item is. Now, let me finish on this thing. In looking at this, I've had some issues with this, and part of this is that the way it was originally stated in our agenda to remove them, it goes against what our policy has been. And our policy changed now about almost 2 years ago to conform with what the new state guidelines were on this, because prior to roughly the summer of 2023, as a board, we did not get involved in this type of choice on to removing books. If there was a book up for reconsideration, it went through staff and through our director, and they had it. That changed with the state law, and we have conformed to that. And so now, what we are looking at doing, part of what I have a problem with, when we start taking And to removing books, we are stating that no one will have access to that book, whether they are a 16-year-old, or a 60-year-old. And I have some issues with us pulling those kind of books and saying that adults do not have access to certain types of books. Even if I may not agree with it, you may not agree with it, other people may not agree with those ideas in there. They still have that right. And on what I have seen on this thing, and I have voted in the past when books have come up, and we have had to go for reconsideration of books, and I have voted to remove books that I felt contained content that was in violation of a specific state law. On this thing, I have not seen where there is a state law that says that this subject matter is against the law. And as other colleague over, or my fair Mr. Benjamin mentioned, that's where I have an issue with this, because if these books are not against the law, they do not violate the law, would they then be considered a form of constitutionally protected free speech? And if that, then according to my understanding of the law, anything, whether, like I said, if I like it, don't like it, disagree, or don't disagree with it, anybody else, if a piece of literature is considered legal, then are we violating the actual law if we try to remove that? And that's where I have a concern with on that until someone can tell me what specific state laws that these books violate, I have issues with this wholesale just banning a whole group of books.
Any other comment from the board?
Well, I think I was asked a question there, or at least asked for clarification. So, a couple things. One, the policy would be, hey, books that promote, encourage, normalize transgenderism or gender confusion be removed. The process that I described would be to determine which books meet that definition, meet that criteria. So staff would be instructed to find any book that might, and then bring that to the board to make a final decision. Again, the logic there is to mimic what the school board, the legislature has established to be the school board's process to do that. So that's the answer to the policy, the policy question. So, secondly, talking about moving the books to a different section, maybe to an adult section. The reason why I would say that I'm not for that is if we had a book, again, the analogy I make is self-harm. If this is harmful to children, if the promotion of gender confusion, transgender ideology is harmful to children, then it's on par with self-harming, anorexia, smoking. If we had any material that advocated that said, hey children, it's good to self-harm, I don't care where you put that in the library, it doesn't belong. And then, the library board is expending money to keep books on the shelf. So by just keeping a book, we are making a decision to expend funds, taxpayer dollars, to keep those books there. The library does not have every book that's printed. We make decisions all the time about whether to acquire a book, or get rid of a book, to keep it on the shelf, or to not keep it on the shelf. This would just be part of that process. And then the final comment, you made a comment about banning books. We cannot ban a book. We don't have that authority. Books are available are available for purchase. This body has no authority to prevent anyone from selling or buying a book anywhere.
But what I get back to is, you say that, but then what we are a public library, and as been said, we are here to serve all people in this county, and we are a diverse county. And we have books in this. People have said, some of the other, their speakers, there are books in there they like, that they don't like, that they agree with, and they don't agree with. But if we're saying that as a library system, that we're going to limit that to certain, that we will not allow certain types of books that may be protected free speech, and I have issues with that. And that's why I cannot support what you are trying to do right now.
Yes, Margie, please.
When we went before the county commission, they presented a great deal of displeasure with the library because there were some books that they were not comfortable with, and they were not comfortable with funding us. And we just asked them for a lot of money. I do not want us to go through that again. I know that we have a process in place, but there are a lot of books that they may find a problem again. So I don't know what our process is, what we would do. I mean, I know there's books that come before us all the time. I'm not sure what our plans are in that respect. So, what are your thoughts on this, Mr. Chairman?
Would it be possible that the books that deal with the subject be not moved to another area? Yeah, moved to another area. However, it would be the parent, the adult, who gets them, rather than it being on a shelf for any child age 6 to 10 to pick them and go, Mama, I want this one. It would be where an adult would come in and go, I need a book help me help my child with this, whatever you want to call it. And not that we're making recommendations, but the books are still in the library, but they're not out there, if that makes any sense. That these books have to be asked for specifically, or the subject matter has to be asked for specifically. That way, like I said, they're not out there for anyone to pick up, or thumb through, or look through. But we're not taking them off the shelf, getting rid of them totally. And that to me would be a compromise, if you will.
Well, I did some research with some people about that particular idea, and I found out that that was demeaning for people to ask for books in that respect. So I'm not sure if that is an idea or not. I know that I received a lot of emails. I'm sure some of you did. It seems that our community has cried out to us and said they're not comfortable with the section of books with the transgender books. So that is something that we need to listen to too.
Any other discussion? Anyone? Any ideas? Thoughts?
So I still feel like what Cody articulated we would do is not way the motion is worded.
Okay.
And I also have a question about exactly what gender confusion means. Because I think I've had gender confusion from the time I was 1971 in second grade, and I was not allowed to listen to Casey at the Bat because that was a story for boys. And that, you know, I'm worried about the slippery slope of what is gender confusion. If there's a character in a book who is a boy wearing a skirt, is that gender confusion and we're going to throw it out automatically? Or, you know, where are the definitions? Where are the particular guidelines that we would use? Now, I think on the question of obscenity, we've got something pretty good in the Tennessee Code to follow. But as Raleigh is saying, here I feel like we've got a lot of vagueness. And if Ben wanted to jump into the conversation, I would love it too. Sorry, Ben, don't want to put you on the spot, but I did.
My understanding is, as written, the standard would not be workable, would not pass constitutional muster. Is my understanding and study of the First Amendment jurisprudence. And therefore, I would have to look at it.
But if it was worded, is that, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but is it just this particular wording? And I'll give you an example. You know, Wiley, you mentioned adults getting this type of content. But as the words, the last two words, in minors, but if it's a 32-year-old who wants to check out a book in the adult section about this, that's okay. Or we're not talking about those books, are we? Am I understanding that correct?
Well, the motion is to talk specifically about encouraging, promoting in children.
Correct.
So, a book that is, and also, it's not just the subject matter, it's the promotion of the subject matter. So, if there is a book that handles, for example, you know, let's use smoking as an example. There's a difference between a book about teen smoking and about a book that promotes teen smoking. It's very different. So, that's what the motion is talking about. And again, I would argue that book shouldn't be in the library in the adult section or in the children's section.
And the process would be where, like you said, staff brings us a book and we go over it at each board meeting.
Can I speak to that,
Yes,
please?
ma'am.
I would need a lot more clarification on specifically what books would be considered.
Eligible.
Right, are we talking if there is a character in that book? This is, from my perspective, as someone who's going to have to implement this, I need a lot more guidance on it, and I would also like to speak to some of the other points if I have your permission to do that.
Yes, you may.
Okay. In regards to Executive Order 14168, the federal funds, I have spoke to the state already. I spoke to Kate. We do receive federal funds, and any stipulations that come towards federal funds as far as what we can and cannot purchase, that will all trickle down to us from the state when those federal funds are dispersed. So I don't think I can wait on that as far as those purchases go to hear from the state for that direction. Also, the county meeting, that was March 4th of 2024. I did speak at that meeting and I offered the action plan that we submitted, and I haven't heard any feedback since then. I would hope that if there were concerns, or if, hey, this was, this wasn't enough, that over the last year, someone would have reached out to me or the chair. So if funding is in question, I would hope that that would be something that we could talk about. It's not really I don't think that it's not my responsibility to convince you that transgender or any type of transition is harmful, but it is my job to try and encourage you to protect access to information and follow the policies that the board has supplied and approved from previous meetings. The way that motion is presented, it does go against policies PM 103, 104, 105, 107, 200, 201, 202, 400, 401, 403, and 405, as far as how we do consider materials. Also, from a personal standpoint, I am asking the board to please not proceed with this right now. I believe that a lawsuit is inevitable, and this needs to be discussed when a permanent director with the proper experience and background and leadership has been identified. I do respect that it is your responsibility to write policy for this library system. I respect that. But discussing a sweeping change of this magnitude without the proper leadership could be viewed as opportunistic. Finally, as a public library, we should not act in loco parentis. That is not our responsibility. The responsibility for children's reading behavior lies with their parent and guardian. Children cannot obtain a library card without their parents' permission. Parents can choose the level of access that they have, even if they have a library card. That was all part of the action plan that was submitted in last year. They're not allowed in the library by themselves until they're 12, and even if a child over 12 comes to the library and checks out an item, that is still up to the parent's discretion whether that item is chosen. It's not. I'm just asking that this please wait until we have better leadership.
Based on that, I am making a move that we postpone indefinitely, which is not to say that we would not bring it back up, but I believe that that would be the most appropriate thing we could do, given the number of questions that we have, given that we do have several board members that are at least uncomfortable with the language or the lack of specificity in maybe the plan. And given that I so wish we could be focused more on the work that Marcy and the committee are doing in terms of picking a director, selecting a new director.
When you say postpone indefinitely, or you just mean postpone until later? Because when I hear indefinitely, I think.
Well, it does mean, postpone indefinitely means it might not come back. I realize it will.
Yeah.
But that gets it, from the Robert's Rules of Order, that gets it to where it does not have to come back in 3 months or whatever.
Yeah, there's a motion on the floor, I don't think the second motion you made.
Right, but that's what you were talking about. Right. Well, we have a motion and a second on the floor. So remove, correct me if I'm wrong, Cody. Remove material that promotes, encourages, advocates for, or normalizes transgenderism or gender confusion in minors. And that motion is made second. Any further discussion If not, I guess we'll go ahead and take it to a voice vote.
Roll call.
Yes, want to make sure y'all are paying attention. All right, and I've got my list, and we'll start from the bottom and go up. Whereas last time I went top down, so. Cody,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Lori,
No.
Susan,
Yes.
Dina,
Yes.
Yes.
Sam,
Yes.
Riley,
No.
Benjamin,
No.
and Lisa is absent. Okay. 5, 3, 1, 5, 2 removed, 3 no, 1 not present, so the motion passed. Hang on before y'all don't leave. We still got stuff to talk about. I'm just kidding. No, in all seriousness.
That's all they care about.
In all seriousness, I appreciate y'all coming. Join us again, okay?
It's best to understand.
All right, thanks.
Where we were at the front, yeah, I was taking this way too far away from here.
It's because you're misinformation. We have to remove these words because they're not factual. Now let me spout a whole bunch of things that aren't factual to support my decision.